Pet. Dr. Pet, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning to you, Scott.
Thanks for coming back. Appreciate it.
Always my pleasure.
And it's always fun to talk with you because you talk about happiness and the secret to becoming happy in this very complicated world. And let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, you say that we have something in common. We are born the same way, and we start off on our left foot, right?
We all start as crybabies, don't we? We all have the same motto: I want what I want when I want it. We're very impatient. And part of our work in progress is, as a mature adult, we become powerful creators. More than ever before, we determine what we are, what we become, and right now we see we're determining what's happening with our world.
Well, I think part of the problem as well, why it is difficult in today's complicated world, is that patience is in short supply out there, isn't it? Because we're effectively have become an instant society, and if we still, as mature adults, don't get something instantly, we become upset, right?
That's the basic rule. We become frustrated, and one of the first things we do when we become frustrated, we look to blame somebody. We look to say, who, what, or where is causing me my frustration. That's the way we start out in life, isn't it? We think that the world should take care of us, and in fact it really does. We can't survive unless there are other people who take care of us, but then we don't mature. We go through that throughout our lives, and that's why we have a great deal of problem. We're very impatient. We expect somebody or something should take care of us.
Well, and now you say that really happiness is a skill. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, we need to teach ourselves, number one, to have patience, because the wisdoms that enable us to succeed in life and be happy, to have a fulfilled life, to be joyous, are not ones we're born with. These are ones that we need to acquire. And my experience is that as I've looked around in my lifetime practice of psychiatry, I find that some people seem to manage, even though they don't have particularly wealth, they don't have even good health. They lack certain things, but they have basic skills that they've acquired. And over the period of time, we can ask, what are those skills that the successful people have? And that's what I've done. I've created over 100 such tips, put them together, and these are ones we can actually learn. One of the most basic, of course, is patience. We need to learn to develop common sense, the ability to think using our special brain, our cerebral cortex, that I call our freedom organ, because it frees us from instinct, it frees us from all the things that our nurturers teach us that we call tradition, so that we become our own person. So one of the first things is we need to teach ourselves patience, and there are a whole variety of basic skills we learn that I call self-endorsement, the ability to become our own best friend. Until we learn to be a good friend to ourselves through life, we go through life as what I call love junkies. We look for other people for their approval. When they don't give us their love or what we expect, and we get very upset, we get despondent. But the skills of self-endorsement are easy to learn, and there are quite a few of them.
Well, and I think your point oftentimes is that when you talk about happiness, is that we're all looking in the wrong direction, and and for the wrong things, right?
We look for, number one, money. We think of physical wealth as the important thing. That's what most of our education is, how we can become physically wealthy and support ourselves. The second thing we look for is that we have physical health. If you go to the supermarket, you'll find the place is loaded with things that will make yourself beautiful, put cream on your face, to take vitamins, a whole variety of things. But the third thing that we need, which I think is the most important, is what I call mental wealth. Mental wealth are those wisdoms that enable us to be fulfilled and happy in life. All you have to do is read a couple of recent books, like Tuesdays with Maury, or the last lecture. These are two men who had serious illnesses. They knew they were going to die, and yet they had skills that they showed in these best-selling books that can enable an individual to be happy and fulfilled through their lifetime. I've seen that over and over again.
Isn't also kind of grasping the disaster in Haiti and seeing the lives that have been uprooted and kind of on relative terms saying, hey, we don't have it that bad, right?
One of the skills, of course, is an attitude of gratitude. We tend to look at the empty part of the glass. That's part of our biology. We're always anticipating the worst things that can happen to us. We worry. But instead of looking at the half-full part of the glass, that's one of the important skills of self-endorsement, making a list of the things that we have to be grateful for and reminding ourselves. There are a whole variety of other ones. Let me just give you an example. The most powerful self-endorsement skill that I call emotional self-endorsement. We all know how to get a dog to wag its tail. We know how to get how to applaud at an athletic event or jump up and scream. We do that when we have a musical event. We even do that to something like an ice cream sundae. We see it and we say, oh boy, doesn't that look terrific? But how often do people endorse themselves with a lot of emotion? Unfortunately, most of us are taught not to do that, but here's one of the most powerful skills available to everyone, and we rarely engage in it.
What about in terms of the world out there? I mean, it's really tough. If you watch TV, you listen to the radio, you read the newspaper, it is constant bad news headline after bad news headline. Everything is wrong. The world is going to end. How do you fight your way through that?
Well, unfortunately, the newspapers represent the way we are ourselves. We are warriors. We are. It's our instinct to anticipate the worst thing. Years ago, for our ancestors, it had survival value because the death and danger was at every turn that we made in a very primitive society. So what we see in the news, carrying only the worst things, is just an extension of what we do ourselves. So what we really need to do is to learn to tune some of that out, and we learn to become our own best friend. Again, get back to realizing that we are responsible for our well-being and not be affected by rain, by what the weather is for the day, who wins the World Series. I mean, these are the things that we get caught up in our dependency that we start off as children, and we don't have to stay stuck in that way. We can really take responsibility for ourselves. That's the process of going from being a dependent crybaby to being a powerful and wise creator who takes charge of our own life experience.
Some of the happiest people I know have a hobby, gardening, and are in touch with nature. Is there some relation there?
Absolutely, because one of the other basic skills we learn is chronic enthusiasm. The two most important words to successful life are chronic enthusiasm. When we have an investment of ourselves, we create a purpose for ourselves, some meaning in life. Otherwise, we just drift along, and we are subject to whichever way the wind blows, and our mood is the same way. If we have a hiccup in our economy, then we feel miserable. If the stock market goes up, we feel great. We're too dependent on sound bites, for example. Watch television, and we're dependent on the sound bites to tell you how to think and what to buy and so on.
Tell us about your books. They're available on the internet. They are free. Tell us about the books and how they are available.
Well, there are two books on the skills of happiness. One is called The Short Course to Mental Wealth. The other is A Newer Way of Thinking, what Einstein told us we require if we're going to save ourselves and our world. But I'm very excited because soon I'm going to be offering 100 video tips free to anyone who would like to ask for them. These are the collected wisdoms of a lifetime, my lifetime collection of wisdoms that'll be available free to anyone. All you have to do is to go to anwot.org. ANWOT stands for A Newer Way of Thinking.org. We are a nonprofit corporation. We get our funds elsewhere. We're not going to charge a cent to anyone ever. So our goal is to create 1 million members of a grassroots peace movement, and we're going to start that very soon, probably the next 3 or 4 weeks. So all you have to do is go to that site, sign up, and we'll be happy to provide you all of these items free.
Dr. Pett, I want to thank you very much. We'll talk again soon, okay?
Oh, very good. Nice, always nice talking to you, Scott.
That's Dr. Bye-bye. That's Dr. Donald Pett here today. The Short Course to Mental Wealth and A Newer Way of Thinking, 2 books available free on the internet. All you have to do is go to anwot.org. A Newer Way of Thinking.org here today on the Morning Mess.